What's going on? How you doing? What's up, Alexi? How you doing?
Yeah, great, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Sorry, I had a little bit of scare there. Girlfriend started banging in sync really loud, and I'm like, okay, well, everyone's gonna be able to hear that. Yeah. So another preview. Honestly, this one I haven't been like I'm not like I'm always excited to watch United play, but I hate Burnley.
Oh,
Like and
honestly.
everything Burnley stands for, everything like I've said this before with Burnley. I would rather any other team, basically at this stage, from the championship come up and just send Burnley back down. I'm just so
Yeah.
like somebody else can be that team that just parks the bus and really has no interest in scoring goals. Like I think they're like the only team that plays without a striker by choice. Like they're just like, nah, we're good.
Mm.
I don't know, but how you feeling, man? How's it going? How's everything happening? Everybody who's liking, who's watching, like, subscribe, all that. Back to my
Last time we beat Burnley, I was 16, and this is at home. I'm now 21. It's been 5 years since we've beaten them at home. I was at the game last year when we lost 2-0, and that was like probably the most depressing day of my life.
jeez.
But yeah, we've not beaten them for 5 years at home. They've just got our number every time. And like, because I remember when we went on that big run when Ollie first came in, that run was ended by Burnley because they drew with us because
Yeah.
we were on this winning run. Every bloody year, it's ridiculous. It's the last game you want to play, Burnley at home. It should be easy. It's easy for everyone else, but it's not easy for us, is it?
No, it's because of the way they like we've all like since for a long time we've had a hard time breaking down low blocks, and Burnley is the definition of like a low block. Like they put everybody back. We're not good in the air, and the only thing Burnley's good at really is long balls and set pieces, right? So they're literally like our anti. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. They're like our
Kryptonite.
kryptonite, basically. Like they're like the way they play is the perfect recipe to beat us. And I think our players we've seen in the past, which I'm starting to think is changing. Like I actually think it's starting to change that we're actually getting to a point where we don't play down to the competition anymore. And I think that's going to make a big difference. I just had to change my mic. Actually, I just realized I wasn't on the right mic. Do I sound better?
Yeah.
Yeah, from here. Yeah, it's so realistically, this game tomorrow, I think we're gonna win because I think we're starting to see a different United. If we're gonna be honest, it's starting to seem like we've got back into it. We're gelling a bit more. The rotations are working. I put in the description, like, are we going to see more rotation from Ollie now that, top four is done and dusted, even though he's still been talking about we'll never give up on the title. I'm not going to speak those words. I'm not going to put that out here. I don't feel like being clipped up. I don't feel like I think the title's done, but it's admirable that Ollie won't say it. What's your thoughts on, do you think he rotates? Do you think like we attack this game like we still have a chance in the league, or are we just hopefully maybe going to see a different side? I don't know.
It's the first league game, I think, all season where I think you said this at the start, you go into it and you're a bit like it doesn't feel that big, does it, at all? The thing is, we do have a week break after this for the first time in months. But I still think someone like Marcus Rashford should not be playing against Burnley. One, because they're going to kick the living out of him. Two, because why not, right? When we've got Leeds, Roma and Liverpool coming up, why not just give Rashford a week off? Just get him rested and then bring him back into the fold for those games. There's no point, in my view, just kind of risking him against Burnley and, a fairly meaningless game, because Leeds and Liverpool, we might be in the same position in the league where the points don't matter, but it's Leeds and Liverpool, You want to beat Leeds and Liverpool. Save Rashford for that and Roma. I really wouldn't. I think it'd be a bit naive to start him tomorrow, especially when he's got his ankle problem. So, yeah, I think Rashford will get rotated, definitely. I think Henderson will be back in goal because we can't play De Gea against Burnley with their
They'll just crowd him in the box. They'll crowd him. They'll be able to nick a goal. So that's a good point. I mean, I think at this point, you rest Rashford for almost every game except Roma, until he that's just my opinion. Like, we have enough talent, as we've seen, like against Granada, that we were fine. Like at no point were we uncomfortable. And I was halfway watching that game because I wasn't able to fully focus because I was working. So I was only kind of halfway watching that game, and at no point was I worried about how this game's going to go. So I think it's like we've moved into that phase. It's time to just rotate. In my opinion, don't play Rashford. Even Cavani, like sit him, like put Greenwood up front. He's young. He can afford the games. He can. We're gonna add a new guest.
Hey guys, what's up?
Aaron, what's going on, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Not bad, man. We're just discussing how we think Ollie should attack this game. Does he rotate the squad? Should he rotate the squad or should he not? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we got Roma to deal with in the Europa League, and I think Ajax would have been worse. It's a more unpredictable team, and I think Roma's a little bit more something we can deal with in terms of not needing. We can play the likes of Donny van de Beek against Roma, whereas I feel against Ajax with a structure that they have as a club, like we would definitely try to play our strongest lineup. But of course, in the first leg, I do see us still going as strong as we can.
Yeah, I think we're going to go.
Yeah, because I think Ollie does want the Europa League. He's not going to let another semifinal get in the way. So, I think for this game, I don't see us rotating, simply because Ollie doesn't think he can afford the rotation. And honestly, I don't think if we should be rotating, get players on for the first 60 minutes, 70 minutes, get the result in. Once it's all done, get all the other players you want on. So just seal the game in the first 60 minutes.
That's fair. That's a fair point. And it's funny, whenever I hear anybody say we can play Donny van de Beek in a game, I just want to say this to everybody watching. Donny van de Beek is not playing much this season. Like, it's just not happening. We can just leave that alone. Like, I put out a tweet where, and I truly mean this, like, I get confused at the start of every game where it's basically clockwork. And like we have fun like making fun of people on Twitter and just going being passive aggressive. But it's basically like if Donny van de Beek is not in the team sheet, I know what to expect. I'm like, oh, the Ollie out Twitter is going to explode. Like it's just like people, he's bullying, he's this or that. You're like, Donny van de Beek's been our player for 6 months. Why is everybody so attached to this guy?
I have no problem with Van de Beek not starting. My only worry is him not feeling that he's not wanted at the club and him quitting the club. That's my only concern. Like, because there is a player there who can replace the likes of Pogba if Pogba is to move on. I think Donny van de Beek is a player you can invest in and like you can give him the time. So I don't have the problem of him not playing. I don't care if he's on the bench. As long as it's not to the point where he feels snubbed and he wants to leave right away when we haven't seen what he has to bring to the club.
Alexi, how do you feel about it?
Well, the thing is as well, though, is when you look at other clubs and what's going on there, you kind of look at someone like a Kai Havertz, even Thiago at Liverpool. He's not playing every game, you know. I think there's a lot to be said for easing players in, or maybe Hakim Ziyech is a good comparison because they both came from Ajax. That same style of play they were both kind of built up on. He doesn't play every week because he's got to be eased in because Ajax is a very meticulous way of playing because they've basically, if you play for Ajax, you're drilled to play a certain way. And Van der Beek's been with Ajax his whole life, hasn't he? So I think he's just got to get adapted to the league and stuff like that. And you know, it's a very different way of playing in the Premier League.
Sure.
And like you look at the Havertzes who aren't playing every game, but I'm sure next season Havertz, Van der Beek, and Ziyech will be playing a lot more than they are now.
So I'm curious about when we talk about those three players, Ziyech started on fire. I had thoughts in my head being like, maybe we should have just thrown away the Sancho chase and gone after Ziyech, watching him play a few games. But since then, he's fallen. I think it's something to be said, like, because the competition he's going up against, the competition that Kai is going up against, and I called it from the start of the year. I stand by it. It came true that Kai Havertz would be the biggest flop of this season. And by when I say flop, I don't mean because he doesn't have potential to be better. People mistake that when I say like he's going to be a flop. I don't mean that. I mean, based on how much he cost and the impact he was going to have this year, he was going to be considered a flop, and it has to be true. Like he was the most expensive signing of the summer. He has a couple goals, most of them against Barnsley or wherever. And that's it, really. Like, in a few appearances across the league for $89 million. Like, I'm sorry. Like, people call Pogba a flop. So if you're going to be called Pogba a flop, like, you have to paint the same brush. And I look at Donny van de Beek, and I think the reason he's not getting in our team right now is Ollie doesn't think he can afford to rest Bruno. And that's fair. And like you said, like, you'd be upset if he quit the team. I don't know, Lexi, would you be mad if we sold, let's say, and I'm not saying we will, because I think there's a player in there, and I think he's good enough as a squad player. But would you be mad, Alexi, if we did sell him and brought somebody else in, if we were like, it just didn't work out?
I think it'd be a bit harsh to get rid of him already, to be honest, because we've not really had a chance to see him flourish properly. And obviously, I think when he has played, like, he's been involved in goals in the last couple of games against Brighton and Leicester, and that was from his off-the-ball movement, which is really good. I think it would be sad if he went before we'd even really seen much of him. But I think when he came in, the impression I got was him and Bruno were Pogba replacements. I just do think that Pogba and Van der Beek are just so different as footballers, unless you're kind of replacing one Paul Pogba with two players, if you know what I mean.
You have to, though. Paul Pogba has to be replaced with two players.
Yeah, because I guess there's so few midfielders who've actually played football that are as well-rounded as Paul Pogba is. But no, I think he'll be here next season, Van der Beek. I'd be very shocked if he left, to be honest, because I think he's going to want to fight for his place anyway. And you'll look around him and go, look how much the team's improving. We could win a trophy, win the Europa League, and we're gearing up for a title charge. And I think he'll really want to be a part of that. And in a title charge, obviously, like at City, they have great players in depth. And we do need that as well, because obviously we can't have a first 11 because we'll be out of the title race by October with our injuries.
Yeah.
So for all the Ollie outers, I would just want to say who are like at Ollie's neck every time Van de Beek isn't starting, you have to realize Ollie can't afford to get rid of his best 11 when he's trying to win each game at hand. And when you see Van de Beek even coming on, and whenever he does play, he is playing very safe because he knows that he is not trusted by the manager right now. So it's not like he's putting outstanding performances when he comes on. He's playing the safe ball. He's playing the safe pass sideways. So you kind of feel for Van de Beek because he's not been given the time to adapt, and Ollie doesn't have the time to give him to adapt. So it's more like you have to wait for that preseason phase where Donny does get a run of games where we do see what he's made of. And then we can see how he builds on from there. He came in very late on, and he did get the first goal against Newcastle, but he's never had that time because even with the injuries around, he's never had the time where each week he's starting and he can develop. And he did seem like that kind of a player. I think we saw that with Fred as well. When he did come on, he was very shaky. But when he did get the run of games, we did see the better of Fred. So I think with Donny as well, you have to give him that run of games before we do judge him as a player. And that's why I wouldn't want to get rid of him before we do give him that opportunity.
Aaron, if you knew my opinion on Fred, you'd know not to bring him up on my show.
No, not anymore. I'm just saying, like, Fred did have a good end of last season, and but recently I don't think Fred's good enough.
I see the point. I get what everybody's saying with Donny, and we're talking about Donny van de Beek because honestly the Burnley game is not very important. In my opinion. No, I'm just not. I actually had to double check to see who we were playing tomorrow. That's how I had put this game aside in my head. But see, the thing is, okay, with the Donny thing, and I do believe I hear these things that people say, oh, he plays it safe. It's because he doesn't have confidence, this or that. But realistically, when you watch Donny van de Beek play, and I watched him at Ajax and I watched some of the Dutch league, he doesn't play the killer ball though. That's not his style. He's he's kind of like Jesse Lingard, if we're going to be honest. Like he's very much like Jesse Lingard. A better finisher, better technical player in a sense, but it's hard to say that right now the way Jesse's playing. He's more of a stick and move guy. Like he'll quick pass, move, quick pass, move, quick pass, get in the box, be in and around the box. Like the movement, that movement helped Greenwood's goal, one of the goals recently. I can't remember which game it was, but he gets in the box. He's an option, and that's how he plays. And honestly, I think what Ollie demands from his 10, because it seems like that's where Donny wants to play as the 10. I would be happy to see him play deeper, if we can play him deeper, but it seems like he wants to play in the 10. And Ollie demands that his 10's an old school 10 in the sense of like the James Rodriguez, the Bruno Fernandes, the guys who sit there and pull the strings on everything. Like they move across the line. And I just don't see Donny being that player. I do think he's a player. And I do think next year when we're going to be in the Champions League, we absolutely have to be challenging next year. Then hopefully we can integrate Donny. But to move on from Donny, I want to kind of get into what we think we're going to see tomorrow in the game from a lineup standpoint, because I do want to make sure we have time to catch the FA Cup final. Up front, who would you start? We'll start with you, Aaron. Who would you start with your top three?
I would go with Greenwood.
Or formation too.
I think the standard 4-2-3-1 that we've been playing, I don't see why that would change. Like, I know last couple of games we've been changing that up a little with the two striker system, but I don't think we need to do that. Cavani is really good in the box. I understand that, but against a team like Burnley, which is very strong in the air, and they do tend to hold a low block a lot of the times, they are very defensively set up by Sean Dyche. So you want to make sure that even with Cavani's movement, I understand that his movement can break the lines, but I feel that would be way more effective off the bench, and we should start off with Greenwood. And Cavani does also need a rest, but I don't want him to get injured again before the semifinal.
Okay, who would you start on the left and right?
I need to understand what Rashford's situation is, because he's on sometimes, he's not on sometimes. I don't know how bad his injury is. Like, if he is that badly injured, I think we just have to give him the time to rest and keep him for the more important games like the semifinals and the finals. So I would like I know Dan James will be pretty ineffective against a low block. There's no space to run into, so I don't see why he would start. I definitely see Ollie going with the whole Pogba playing the left mid kind of role, where he does have Bruno in the middle and then they interchange, and then more of Matic and McTominay, McTominay coming back in after he missed the last game. So something a little bit more like that, where Pogba or Bruno kind of start off the left.
Mm-hmm. Alexi, who are you thinking? You got it bang on last time. I remember that was like the goal, like bang on every part of the game. So who would you start on the left?
Yeah, I think I agree.
Or just a starting three. The starting three. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with the Pogba thing. Especially as he only played 45 minutes the other day. It's a no-brainer. I think I'd go Pogba, Greenwood, and then I'm struggling who else to put in the attack. So I don't think Cavani will play again, to be honest. It's so within 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Mata? No.
Well, Mata came in and scored a goal. It was his goal. I love the way he looked to the linesman, and he was like, "My goal, that's my goal."
He's so adorable, isn't he? He's just like, oh. No, I'll go Greenwood. I don't think this is actually a very good idea playing James, but I think James will play, even though it's really redundant. Like you said, like playing him against a low block is a bit pointless, but I just think he'll play because I don't see him.
I see that as well. I just said what I would do, but with Ollie, I think he will play James anyway because he doesn't have the options, honestly. If he did have Rashford, it would have been Rashford, Greenwood, and then you would have the likes of Pogba, like Rashford interchange to the right wing and then Pogba on the left mid spot. But yeah, with no one, we're lacking options right now, and I don't think Ollie is brave enough to bring in Diallo right away. I just don't see that happening.
As well.
Yeah. You wouldn't want him either. Yeah, it's too physical a game, I think, to bring the likes of Diallo in.
Yeah. So I disagree. My front three is Greenwood, Pogba on the left, and Amad Diallo will get his first start. I'm guessing. I'm only saying this out of this is what I think he should do. It's probably not what he's going to do, but I think this is what he should do. So I'm going to stick with it. The other option, well, it'll probably be Dan James just because. And that's just because of Ollie, but Mata also being on the right is an option too. When you're playing Burnley, you don't need pace. Like, you don't need to worry about getting him behind, or you just need to be on the ball and you need to be tidy on the ball and you need to create. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a very Greenwood up top, because I agree with you, both of you. Cavani starting is very pointless in this game and too much of a risk. So you start with, I'm waffling here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mata and Pogba both started on either side of the flank and we just played with the ball. You have Bruno sitting in, and then you as long as the game's clear after 60 minutes, maybe you bring in some other players. Moving to the midfield, who would you start in your midfield? Because I mean, Scott, I agree with you, Aaron. Scott's coming back for sure. He's going to play. But
so I do think he will go for Matic. Matic will play a game soon. So I feel like there's this period that Ollie goes maybe 1 or 2 games, and then Matic comes back in, and then 1 or 2 games. So it's it's between Fred, Matic, and McTominay. The 3 of them keep rotating those 2 spots in some way or the other. And while I hate playing Fred and Matic together, the 2 left footers just don't work, and every time we do, we struggle in those games. I've noticed that it's a pattern, and we need to stop doing that. But that doesn't stop Ollie from doing it, and I don't see him stop. It doesn't stop him from doing that tomorrow. But with McTominay missing the last game, I do see him coming in. Now, if it was me, I think against a low block like Burnley, you do have the opportunity to play with 1 more defensive-minded midfielder, and this is the perfect game to bring someone like Donny in, who can work through the lines. But I'm not sure if Ollie would do that. So I think he would go more of McTominay Matic or McTominay Fred, but McFred's a little unlikely. So more of McTominay Matic for me.
Alexi?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it'll be McTominay, Matic, and Bruno because Fred's played a lot. He'll probably need a rest. I'd love it if Van der Beek came in, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And I mean, I think McTominay, people look at him as a really defensive player, but he is actually pretty good at going. He scores quite a lot of goals
on 8 this year, which is if we said at the start of the year, just to interject, Scott McTominay gives us 8 goals. We're all cool.
Oh, yeah.
Happy. Very happy.
I mean, it's incredible, really. And he's especially kind of aerially, and he's very physical. And I think he's good for this kind of game. But it always feels like with our midfield, we're always playing one midfielder we don't want to play. And for me, that's Matic. But like you said, there's no one else.
Yeah.
It's
there's really nobody else that you would want to play in this game. Again, Fred's diminutive size doesn't work against Burnley. I think you go with the big guys with Scott.
For sure.
The thing is with Scott and Nemanja would just sit. And this is a possession game. And it'll be very interesting to see because the way we played against Spurs, they allowed us to play with the ball, and we did great things with it. We looked nice. That was one of the best games I've seen us play in a long time, where it's just the ball was moving. We had all the possession. We created 6 big chances or something like that, which was really that's nice to see. So I think he might just be listen to Mane, you can sit. Scott, join in on the attack, tidy things up, and we'll see. I think that's the midfield I would go with too. The back 4 is always kind of boring because we just know who it's going to be. When it's in the league, I wouldn't be surprised to see Telles come in just to continue to give. I think we're really gonna find out where Ollie's a liar. It's just Alexi. When you said it, you're right. Ollie's a big liar. He just talks shit, and I love it. I have no problem with it. He just loves to just throw people around and just be like, hey, he's no, we're not giving up on the league. He's look, we had 3 enforced rotations, so I still put out a strong side for the Europa League, and then just boom, he sits Pogba at half, and it's very clear what he's doing. He's being very clever with his words and how he's deciding to use his lineup. So I would not be surprised if we see Telles come in, and that just tells us right there that the whole line about we're never going to give up on the league. It's yeah, we kind of have. If we don't see Shaw in, we'll know that he's solely prioritizing the Europa League because Shaw's one of those guys too who's prone to just get that random injury, just like Kane, where you're just shit, now he's gone for 3 weeks. And luckily, I will say this: Telles is a good deputy. There's no that was probably the best buy of the summer. Because in my opinion,
for price, I would say,
for price, for impact, the price impact, the 2 together, I think it was very strong of a signing because you don't feel when we have to go to Telles, you're not oh no, we're in trouble. You're yeah, okay, cool. Telles can come in and do a job.
Yeah, that's it. And in terms of value for money, all the signings that summer are pretty good because Telles was really cheap. Van der Beek, for what he is pretty cheap, and Cavani was on a free. But it's just a thing that none of them are actually starters, I guess.
But if we're going to be honest, coming into this summer, last summer, we knew we had to build a team of really not start. We knew we had to start getting some backup players in because last year what happened was Ollie couldn't rotate. By the end of the year, our players were holding their shorts. They're just It's like we lost. I think Southampton. That Southampton game we should never have lost. I remember when we lost in the last minute of the game on obviously a corner kick again, set piece. But we were just dead by the end of that game. And by the end of our run last year, we started to see signs of wear and tear. So we went out and bought players that we could bring in and give these players an ease. So that's what I'm hoping for. Honestly, that we do rotate tomorrow and Ollie gets another W, keeps us going because we're 5 wins on the bounce right now.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice if we can finish the year off basically just obviously Liverpool is always going to be a tough game. Leeds, I'm not stressed at all, especially after what we did to them. The thing is, Leeds is going to open up against us, and we're the worst team to do that against. We are the best counter-attacking team in Europe. Not something that you want to say as United. You don't necessarily want to be that, but I see no problem in it. Like we're the best at being a counter-attacking side, and it's because the way Ollie built the team. He's like, I want a bunch of pacey young players because that's what I played with. That's what I understood. He's like, and then some foxes in the boxes that'll go after balls. That's really what he wants. He's building. It's funny that we always said don't replicate. You can't copy what Sir Alex Ferguson did, but it's literally what he's trying to do. He's just trying to build a similar team, just without the talent. That's all it is. All right, let's score predictions. Start with you, Alexi. What are you thinking?
Oh, I don't want to be negative. I'm going to be positive. I can't see this going well because, like I said earlier, we've not beaten Burnley since I was 16. So 1-0 Man United. I think Greenwood will score, but it's not going to be easy at all. I'm dreading it, to be honest.
I might bet on that because you were completely right last time when you picked a player to score. Aaron,
I'm gonna go 2-1 United. I feel like from the set piece, we're very susceptible. So I do see it with Burnley with their set piece conversion rate, and they're really good in the air. So, and I don't see us being able to counteract that. So I think they will score, but I do think we'll put 2 past them as well. So I'd go 2-0 with definitely a Greenwood goal, and I think a Bruno. We've been missing a open play Bruno goal for a while, and I wouldn't mind that.
I'm going 2-0. Pogba and Greenwood or Bruno score. One of the two. It depends. But I think Pogba scores for sure. And I don't think Burnley will score against us because there will be one key difference in this game that hasn't been there against Burnley in the past, and it's going to be Dean Henderson. And I'm not saying it's because Dean Henderson's way better than David De Gea, but he is much better when it comes to commanding the box and being loud and ensuring that guys don't crowd him and getting to that ball. And there isn't going to be that wayward ball that falls to somebody because David didn't go for it or not coming off his line. I can't remember again. I keep forgetting the game, but it was Tottenham where Dean Henderson was coming off of his line, ensuring he's like there's no chance you're going to beat us on the counter because we were playing such a high line. So you're trying to play it over top, and Dean's like, I'll just get there before you. Something David De Gea doesn't do. And when you think about the crowding the box or whatever, Dean Henderson knocked out our own player. So in my opinion, I don't think we're going to see a lot of that with Dean. So I don't think Burnley will be able to nick a goal the way they would normally against David De Gea. So I think it'll be a 2-0. That's my prediction there. I might actually bet on that. But with that being said, I'm going to end it up so we can go watch the FA Cup final. I honestly don't. I actually want City to win. I'm gonna be honest. I have too many friends who are Chelsea fans. I can't deal with it. That's from a petty standpoint. I know I shouldn't want City to win, but at this point, Pep's the best manager we've seen in a long time. Man, it pains me to say it. It hurts me to say it out loud. Alexi's I'm disgusted with you. I can see it. I can see his face. I can see the
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
I would want City to win just because I feel with Chelsea, they have the better chance of I don't know, with the whole fan base, I can't stand the Chelsea fan base. The recent Chelsea fan base is it's just football Twitter is very annoying with the amount of Chelsea fans. With City, the thing is, if they
don't know any City fans.
There's no one to bother me about it. It's gonna hurt deep down, but I'm not gonna have anyone at my face talking about it. Like, I don't know any City fans. I don't know anyone who's gonna come at me with it. Like, okay, they won. Like, it's gonna hurt deep down a lot. But
Alexa, you're in Manchester, right?
Yeah, I live in Manchester.
Yeah. So this is where
I don't know a single Manchester City fan.
There we go.
Do you know the craziest thing? Like, literally, if I walk 10 minutes down the road, their stadium is there, right? I'm really close to it, quite close to Old Trafford as well. And where the team is based, and I don't know anyone who supports them. Like, are they actually a real team? Like, are we sure that like they're a real team, or is it like an inanimate object or something? Because it's none of them about. Like, I'm not even joking. You just don't see any City fans. It's crazy.
They're all in the United Arab Emirates. I used to live there before I moved back to Canada. So back there, like everyone, because like they own the team there. So there's not one United. It's there's barely any United fans. It's like all of the locals are all like Man City, like all the way. Because it's owned by them. So
yeah. But that's interesting. I never really bagged that.
It was definitely a hard place to stay, I would say, with the amount of City fans around. Everywhere you go, it's like City games are being screened, and like you're walking around, and then you're walking at City lift a trophy. My dad was a pilot for Etihad, so like the company that sponsors. So he's bought back the Carabao Cup on his plane. He's bought back the Premier League Cup on his plane. It's been sealed with like bodyguards. So yeah, it's come back to the country.
That's crazy.
That's cool, man. We'll have to talk about that sometime.
I just hope they had the red ribbons on there instead of the blue ones.
Awesome,
you
boys.
Get that plane and change the ribbons, I think.
For sure. If it wasn't as highly guarded, I would have got my hands on there.
Absolutely. All right, boys. Well, take care. I'll see you guys soon. Hopefully, we end up with a W tomorrow, even though I'm not super excited about the game, but let's go. Take care, guys.
Okay, thank you.